Yesterday I made a video which is about JFK, the Inaugural Address, 1961. It's in a playlist that you can see on screen, which is working with YouTube Subtitles and Closed Captions. I think also I'm going to add it to this playlist, which is the one about how did you make that video. So to get started, I want to run through some context here, and this is very much in an educational context and setting for those people who wish to learn. So I'm going to title it as How Did We Make That Video, to do with the JFK inaugural address in 1961. Now what I've tried to do is I've tried to make it with video, words and waveform for analysis. So the three components that I use, it looks quite simplistic, but I'll tell you how I made it, and it was, I'm not going to say troublesome, but it was challenging, and that is that highlighted in red at the top here, what we've got is the waveform made from Audacity, and then on the bottom left highlighted in red is the screen recording grab from YouTube Closed Captions, and then of course for some freely available JFK video made in 1960, of course. So what I'm trying to get to here, and this is very much learning and education and improving your own skills, and that is what video really is, in my opinion, is a vehicle to deliver words, pictures and film. And you'll see in a moment with my video editor that we've got a load of tracks, and I try and work with an idea. You can see that all those tracks combine to the video below if you're new to it, and that is number one, words and text, something to read on screen that may be in a video, and you don't actually know because you've got to watch the whole thing. I've just watched a BBC documentary which is 58 minutes long. How on earth will I know what's in it without watching it? That's why people go to the cinema, of course. Number two, video. Images to look at as the timeline progresses. Again, if you're in the cinema and you just watch stuff, of course, the screen will be changing. In terms of spoken audio as well. Now I've put in brackets have the spoken audio is to listen to, of course, but also is for machine-wise. It's going to be transcribed and available later, of course, for closed captions or subtitles, which are really important to people. And number four, some music there which is put in the background to heighten any kind of experience for it. And I've put to be aware of, because sometimes you don't know that music is there subtly. So bottom right in the YouTube description from yesterday, I've typed this text. I usually get into a habit where I'm typing this text as the video is uploading and processing. So for an example, I'm not going to read the whole lot for brevity, you can read that, but in black, and this is my bold, I wanted to make something that could be useful in an educational context. Of course, the JFK thing was around, and of course has been around since 1961, but I've never seen it or to learn about it in this way. I wanted to see a second paragraph about the pace, the timing and the flow in a visual way, something that was not actually there already. The three bits here which I've just told you about, which is top, bottom left and bottom right, which is the running order of the actual video, and then on the bottom excuse me, as a part, you could say that look at JFK's pace, especially between the phrases. You can actually get an idea if you go back. Can you see that on this timeline, which is a very visual way, that he says a couple of sentences or so, and then you can see literally takes a really long pause here, which is a really interesting thing that you're never going to get just by watching this, quite honestly, or if you see the subtitles. So that's why, for me personally, it's of value to actually make something like this, to take the idea into other places. So going on to the bottom bit, of course, one of my points was that YouTube, which I'll explain in a second, does not make the waveforms that it produces publicly available. You might go and get an idea for those things on places like SoundCloud or some podcast bits. I'll show you in a second. And then the bottom bit is a couple of references. So let's just get on with something here. By the way, just as a snippet, and that is that I'm doing these videos now on my whole channel with an idea that with the YouTube Creators Update, that they're very big on this YouTube Learning. My bit about these videos and the whole thing about the school bus yellow and come visit and learn at the Mike Downs page is really about what if there was a website. We don't know if it's going to come. This is just purely my guess. It's learningyoutube.com/Mike Downs, because when you start to support education, focus, creator content, expert organisations and learners, and they've said very clearly, Susan of YouTube has said, newly dedicated product and engineering team working on these features and learning on YouTube. I really like this last sentence. Our hope is to support those who use YouTube to share their knowledge with the world and the millions of users who come to use the platform to learn. And that really sums me up and why I want to be so, passionate and keep working on this, knowing that I don't really want to, quite honestly, work on an advertising model whatsoever, because I never did in the classroom. For 17 years teaching children, 7 to 11s, they weren't, sponsored lessons by organisations. Anyway, let's skip. What you'll find is, I said, and this is just to prove how this thing was made and what started this idea, is if you put JFK or John F. Kennedy, you will actually get the 15-minute speech, which starts off. That's what inspired me to say, well, look, YouTube have made this available. I know this is a public domain, of course, presidential inaugural speech, but how could I illustrate it? I was thinking about doing tons of images to do with, the 1960s and all these different things, and I started looking at the waveforms and I thought this could make a lot more simple and a lot more effective. Now, going into the point about where I said that YouTube has a waveform that it does not show publicly, if you are into this, and this is why I put it onto a playlist called Working with YouTube Subtitles and Closed Captions for English as a second language, or those people who are looking to study even the spoken words. It's really interesting and important, because if you go into, and I'm going to click the second one here, which is the English subtitles, and what I want to do is I want to, at this stage, there's a two-part process, and this is very, very brief, meaning to get good at this, if you're passionate about it, then at the moment, if I play, I get, can you see the waveform along the bottom? It's physically there. You can kind of guess what's going on. You can also click on the automatic, well, these aren't automatic because I've edited them, but the idea that there is text there that is syncing with the waveforms. But if you really want to look at editing this yourself, and it's a very slow process, but it's a really effective one, especially as YouTube is so good that it will get it probably about over 99% right anyway. What you actually do now is, if I go in here, I've got some blue grab handles that I can grab the timings and drag them left to right. I can type things. I can hover over to the blue to add extra parts in where I think there was some applause and some cheering that I added, or you can take away certain things. So you can spend a long time in there. And what I actually did also was I downloaded the actual lot. And I think if I save the changes there again, and I don't want to, yeah, okay, I've got to hit publish, but although I haven't changed anything, it overwrites the existings. And then what I actually downloaded was a file which was on an, I think it was SBV, and then I changed it up to a online converter, and there's the whole speech there, which is a very valuable tool if you're looking to write blog posts, and this could be a topic of a separate thing. I think we're pretty much done here. I'm going to add it to this video and also this video, because this was a talk through. The final part being, of course, is that here's my editor. And although there are 3 components, I can start to dial them in and dial them out. So that was the video. Look, you can see up here on the top right, it will disappear. So I've had to do picture in picture for that one. Second one down, of course, is the YouTube screen grab, just showing the words as they go by. I've already muted something else there. What's this one? Yeah, that's the top one. So there's your 3 components, but there's about 2 or 3, at least 2 different audio files I've had to work with, and then produce something which of course was also 15 minutes long to sync it all up to get that educational resource. I think that is explanation over for the how did we make that video, although as you can appreciate I've been here for 9¼ minutes, and for me as a teacher it just looks like I'm just getting into this kind of topic, because the end point for this is to go on to the next one, which was to say I wish to look and outline of how videos are made to do, particularly with the machine learning and the scanning of video files for key moments. And I was going to write an example in there to say that if you're looking for a soccer game, you might easily see a goal or a penalty or something huge happen, but will the scanning and the looking in real time with human beings pick up, of course, things like the World Cup, where somebody might elbow somebody in the face, or, you know, these very, very intricate, tiny things. Of course, the ball crossing the line could be cross the line for a goal and back out again, and that's why they've called it, what would they call it? VAR, Virtual Action Replay. Again, that is a big topic for the second one, so let's finish there.